Hello, and welcome to Bass Face in Space Live for the first time. So, just a quick intro. First of all, I have no idea how I sound right now. I checked the bass and it was redlining, but I get no indication. I tried to set up. I had OBS for streaming. Nothing. That program is trash. So I know that there's a bunch of live stream programs out there. Hey, what's up, Ben? First viewer for live. How's the bass sound? Can you please let me know? Is it destroying your ears? Can you hear it at all? Love you too, man. It sounds good? Okay, then I'm happy. Well, hey, welcome to live, Ben. So yeah, I tried OBS Studio for live stream and dead end. I had to anyway, I was stuck in the loop with it. So I'm just doing it raw through YouTube Studio. A little too much low end, he says. Okay. Well, I can change that. Okay. Oh yeah, I had the low end turned up. Hope that sounds a little bit better. Is that better, Ben? Ben, you're my you're my sound check right now. Cheers, Ben. Thanks for the love and appreciation all over the world. I love to hear it. Okay, good. We got it dialed in. Yeah, if you follow this channel, you know that tone and mixing is not my strong suit, but I'm working on it. So, all right, let's get into it. So, I always wanted to go live. I've tried a couple times and I just ramble on way too long, kind of like I'm doing right now. But today I had the goal of walking through Can't Help Falling in Love and talking about different chord shapes. As a lesson, I get a lot of questions in the comments about like, what's my process for making arrangements? And the chord shapes is a huge part of it. And Can't Help Falling in Love is a great example of a song that the core of this song is really just these chord shapes. There's some melody notes in between. Excuse me. But as we take the the measure by measure, it's really just chord shape by chord shape. You're good, Ben. Be as annoying as you want, bro. Let me know. Yeah, another reason I wanted to go live is because my computer is full. Like the memory is so full that editing videos like this, a lot of times they can go on too long. So I was like, I'll just go live, so I don't even have to save it on my computer. So it's an experiment. Let me know what you think about it, how it goes. All right, so getting into Can't Help Falling in Love. Um, oh, by the way, pro tip for solo bass arrangements, I got a little footstool. Game changer. Game changer. It's like $15 on Sweetwater or something. Yeah, this should be on the channel if everything goes well. And I don't want to completely bury it because it's a train wreck. So if everything goes to plan, it will be on the channel. So should be able to share the screen here. We got boom. Here's our arrangement. Okay, so right off the bat, we have really three different chord shapes. What kind of two different chord shapes? Three different chords. So when we're talking about chords, right? So the first, it's in the key of D. Our first chord is D major. This first shape that we see here is essentially like what would be a bar chord on guitar. Now this if I were to play all four strings, it's a little bit much for bass. I mean, to be fair, it sounds beautiful just like that. Sounds really nice for an arpeggio. Hi, Meg. Okay, Ben, stay as long as you can. Love to have you while you're here. And if everything goes to plan, the video will be uploaded after, so you're good. So when I hear this chord shape, I mean, I like that. I could probably strum that all day, but a lot of times when I'm making an arrangement and the chord is for in this case D, right, and the melody note is going to be the third or an F sharp, I just skip out the two middle notes. Here, the fifth, if you're gonna cut one note out of a chord, you cut the fifth, and then the octave is a little bit redundant. So you get a lot more clarity, especially with bass and low end. You gotta be really mindful of uh, you gotta kind of take a minimalist approach. So I would do this D and that nice F sharp there. And I much prefer the sound of just those two notes to these four notes. Right? It can get pretty muddy, especially, I mean, this is kind of high up on the neck, so it's nice. But if I were to do a G, for example, then that D and G can add a little bit of, yeah, the opposite of clarity. Makes it a little bit more muddy. But I just play those two notes. Ooh, that's nice. We like that. All right. So this first chord shape, we love that. Now, with a little bit about the left hand, I'd probably, rather than letting every note ring over each other, really be careful to kind of push down one at a time, so we start to get this nice sound. Sorry. And sounds really nice as opposed to, and all these are choices, and there might be a case where I do want those notes to ring out because that's not a bad sound. I kinda like that. But I'm more inclined to have something like with my fingers kinda rolling through the bar chord. So that's, I mean, that in itself is a nice practice. Take this chord shape here. I mean, you could practice that for 25 minutes and get your value for time. As you can hear, I already have a little bit of buzzing and fret noise as I'm moving through it. So, that's chord shape number 1. And within that 4, you've got the root and the fifth. If I were just to pick 2, and then I have all very useful, very common chord shapes in, bass arrangements. Alright, so next we have this A chord, which is a little bit more of a closed voicing. Now it starts with the open string. Alright? But I wanna focus on really these 3 notes here. Okay, now this is probably the most common, major chord shape that we have in our solo bass arrangements. You hear it a lot for, like, up to C or D, and why not keep going to E? Yeah. Um, so with this one, similarly, when we're high up on the neck, that, root third sounds pretty clear. If I do that root fifth, I'd more commonly do these 2 notes with something like that, where I have a power chord. And that will definitely come up later in the song. Okay, so we have our first chord shape here. And then our second one here. Ben, if you're curious about the tone, I try to keep it as simple as possible. The it's an ongoing struggle. I use my Music Man mainly because it has 22 frets, and that, especially that 21st fret, is really helpful. But I'm finding that it's so bright, and I'm not in love with the tone of the bass itself. But pretty much I use a Universal Audio, Apollo, which has 2 inputs, both of which I'm using right now, the, microphone and the bass, and then it comes free with a Ampeg, SVT Classic plugin, and I usually use that one and kinda tinker with the low end and treble depending how I what I need, and then I really like a little touch of reverb for the solo bass arrangements, really adds some depth to it. What's up? Yeah, only 6 views. Just getting this thing started. Thank you for that. I appreciate that you think it deserves more views. Um, yeah, and, if you wanna chime in or you have any questions along the way, just let me know. But appreciate everybody in here, really appreciate you. Alright, so, yeah, we're talking about, bass chord shapes on bass, and we're using "Can't Help Falling in Love" as our kind of example here. So we have our first shape, which is like our bar chord. Our second shape, which is a little bit more of a closed voicing. Oh yeah, by the way, I should talk about that. So I would call this an open voicing because the third of the chord is over the octave. So we have a D and another D, and then the F sharp up here. So we call that an open voicing. And this being a closed voicing where it's voiced root, third, fifth intervals. That's a closed. I know that as a closed voicing. All right, and then moving on. Now we have the D chord in that closed voicing, but it's a little bit extended now since the root is on our low E string. So we get this nice arpeggio here. Now, this is a little bit more tricky to earlier I was talking about the notes ringing together. This one, we kinda have to roll because we have a bar. And right hand technique, cannot be I can't stress enough how important just muting strings with the right hand is. My right hand does a lot of work. Usually in my normal bass playing for gigs, I spend a lot of time. Here, I'll stop the sharing of the screen so that yeah. So, usually for just like standard gig bass, I'm playing E and A string 99% of the time. I don't know. I like low end. My thumb is either resting on the pickup if I'm playing the E, or if I go to the A string, my thumb is resting on the E string just to keep it quiet. Now in solo bass, I've had to kind of learn and adapt because a lot of action happens on the D and G strings, and if I'm playing an A or an E or even a B, I guess they call it sympathetic vibration, that E string will just start to ring. So I gotta do some technique just with the thumb just to touch the strings and keep them quiet. Sometimes it's resting on the A string, but now it's really muting the E and A strings, and sometimes it's just kinda gracing it just on the side just to keep them quiet. But whether it's my right hand or the fingers that I'm not using on the left hand, I spend a lot of time and energy and intention to just keeping the other strings quiet. And I bring that up because in this shape, let me share the screen again. I should be getting quicker with this as we go. Let's see. That thumb goes to mute that low E string. Without doing that, there's a little bit of that E ringing, and it gets really messy. All right. So that's one of our shapes, and then we go back to the top of our D major shape voice, which is a nice inversion. So we go from this to this, and then we jump another octave to get back to this same. It's the same shape here, just an octave higher. I use that A note open to kind of end that phrase just because it's a nice little transition. So it happens to be the fifth of D. And if you're going to play a last note of a phrase, you either want it to be the fifth of the following chord or a step away. That's a step above or a step below. That usually works for the best cadences. So in this case, that open A string is nice so that I can easily make the jump from the 14th and 16th fret down to my 10th and 12th. I'll play the intro through real quick, trying to play what would be the 17th fret here, which is our nice closed D major triad shape. If I were to do this, I'd have a really hard time hitting beat 1 there because that's a really short time to cover a big distance, but let's see what it sounds like. Maybe that'd be the better move. It's kinda nice. It's kinda nice. I feel like maybe, in an arrangement, that would be ideal, but in a lot of my, um, arrangements, I kinda err on the side of what I can pull off the most reliably, because I can't tell you how many hours I spend doing takes of the videos that you eventually see on YouTube. Ben's got a question. He says, "A tone or a chromatic note?" So, as far well, we can talk about cadences for a moment because I feel like that's a really important part of my kinda guiding philosophies, which applies to my normal baseline composition in general and bass playing, is that, when you're making a strong line or connecting a chord to another chord, like a walking bass is just drawing lines from one chord to the other chord, you want the last note to be, like I said, like a step. So what do I mean by that? What do I mean by a step? Well, so, if, for example, my target note is D, and whether it's D major, D minor, diminished, augmented, I don't really care, right? The next chord starts on D. As a bassist, I'm usually gonna play D as beat note, uh, D as note 1 on beat 1 of that measure when I get there. Now, ending on a D note makes a strong cadence. If I did, that feels good, right? And if I'm walking down, I can play the step above it, which in this case would be E. I can play the step below it, which in this case would be C sharp. That's nice. Now, when you start to deal with minor or you're feeling really jazzy, then you can do the chromatic notes. If this is I hope that this is the question that you're getting at. Um, but that can have a different feeling, but it's still the same concept. It's either a whole step or a half step above or below what I would call the target note. So if I did a half step above, it's going to sound kind of like that Phrygian major, um, kind of feel, right? Now I use that what we call a flat 2 or that half step above the target note, in usually more minor songs, and it can sound really, really strong and kind of, give it that little mysterious edge, especially for, like, some hip hop feel stuff, or if I just wanna, you know, be a little bit edgy. So, like, something if it was minor, get that Phrygian note, and that could sound really cool. But then similarly, if I was in a major key and I wanted something to sound a little bit more funky, the raised 7, in this case the C sharp leading to D, can sound a little bit. It sounds really elegant, but it can sound a little bit weak. You know what I All right, or I could do the C natural, and that sounds a little bit more funky. Now, if I did that with the natural, it's a little bit more happy, but maybe it depends on the tone. All right, we got some questions here. So, like a dominant chord or root, for example. Yeah. What's up? Base Basel Sabub. Oh yeah, I've seen you commenting on the videos. I love that name. Great to see you. So a dominant chord to root. Yeah, for example. Yeah, so Ben, no matter what chord we're resolving from, the same kind of concepts apply of the last note of whatever chord we're on transitioning to what I would call the target note, which is beat, you know, when you get to beat 1, whatever the chord change is, the last note of whatever phrase I'm doing is usually either gonna be the 5th of that target note, so in this case, we're using D, for example, um, or a step below or a step above that target note, which would be some type of C or some type of E. Now, depending on the key, it could be a C sharp, a C natural, an E natural, an E flat, probably not an E sharp, but I wouldn't rule it out. And that makes for a strong transition. Now, sometimes you can end a phrase with the 3rd or the 6th of the target note, but it doesn't make as much of a it ends up being more melodic, which, I mean, we're doing solo bass arrangements. We're talking about, melodies, and so, if I ended on the 6th, for example, now that can sound really nice, but after I hear that B, I'm not necessarily expecting to hear the D after it. So, it's not I wouldn't say that that's as strong of a resolution or a cadence, I suppose, right? But if I hear the 5th, now, even if I was playing a G chord, let's do another G, or let's just try even simpler. I could play any other note. The B. Now, to me, that B note sounded really nice when I was on the G, but when it was followed by the D chord, it was like, meh. It just feels not as grounded, you know? Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying now. Came in for the algorithm. Thanks. Like and subscribe makes a big difference. Trying out this live thing. Um, I'll try to stay on track, but any questions that you guys have, please let me know because I want to talk about all of it. Ah, thank you so much, David. There's a lot of great bass channels out there, so to say that this is your favorite really means a lot. I put a lot of time into it. So, yeah, let me know if you're enjoying the live format too. Any questions, we can talk about anything bass, um, anything music. So, really appreciate your support. All right, so let's jump into our actual song, our arrangement here. Now, this song does have a bit of kind of like a I don't want to be insulting to it, but it has a simplicity to it, or a lot with your students. This might be one of the earlier songs that you learn. If you learn ukulele, they give you a ukulele and they say learn this and then learn Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It has a simplicity to it, and you can kind of um, back that claim up that this is a simple song with the melody notes. So the first note that we sing in the melody is the root. It's the octave. We sing a D. Makes it really nice and easy to sing. When you get to more complex songs, some jazz songs, like you might sing the ninth or the sixth on beat one, but singing the root on beat one makes it a little bit more accessible. You don't have to be a great singer to sing this song, and if you are a great singer and you sing this song, even better. Anyway, I'm not trying to insult the song, but the starting on the root, not always what I see doing bass arrangements. A lot of times, the first note that we hear of the melody is going to be the third, or quite often the fifth. Um, because that the other notes tend to imply a little bit more movement. So starting on the root, it's like it's already kind of resolved a little bit. Yeah. Um, so what's not notated here are what I would kind of call like the strums. So on these bass arrangements, I'll take kind of these pillars of the root note of the chord and the melody note. This is really like the scaffolding of all bass arrangements is what's the chord that's happening? What's the melody note, right? So for this first note, we just have that octave there because this they're both D's. That's where we start. And then in between, I would usually just kind of play how I feel to kind of fill it in a lot like a guitarist would do a strumming rhythm for a D major chord, right? Rather than just playing whole notes, or in this case, whatever dotted halves for 3/4 or 6/8, however you want to think about it. Rather than just strumming the chords, we kind of fill it in a little bit, right? Boom, boom, bum, bum. It has a pretty natural feel to it. And we let's so that's our first one. Maybe I'll just stick with the with just the scaffolding here, so I don't talk about the strumming rhythms too much. And then our next measure brings us to an F sharp minor. Now, up to this point of the song, we haven't seen a minor chord yet, so we're excited. I love minor chords. So we have the fifth of the key, which is A in the melody, and then we have an F sharp as the root. So this talking about intervals can get a little bit confusing because there's kind of the static intervals of like the key of D, but then there's also the relative intervals. In this case, like in relation to at the F sharp chord, this A note is the minor third, but in the key of D, it's the fifth. So I guess I generally speak kind of relative to the root. So we have F sharp and an A. So we get this nice sound. Oh, am I not sharing the screen? Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm referring to a screen that no one can see. Okay, there we go. So we have our D here as an octave, and then our F sharp minor. So not sure everyone's like levels, but just to be clear, this root note here, that's an F sharp. Step one is always I have whenever someone says like I want to learn how to do bass arrangements or I want to learn more about theory on bass, I just say first step, learn all the notes, right? And that's why for like the last 2 years, the only lesson video I've had up is just learning about the notes of the fretboard. So this is an F sharp, and we have the minor third A, and we get this shape here, right? So I learned from tabs before I ever learned how to read. So I understand the instrument mainly by shapes and numbers. So uh, anytime, whatever note you're playing, if you wanted to turn it into a minor chord, you just play the same fret um, on the G string. I mean, whatever note you're playing, if it's on the E string. So if I was playing a B flat, and I was like, how do I play a B flat minor? Well, I can just do this shape. 6th fret of the E is a B flat. So I almost don't even have to know what to call that note on G, but I know if I wanted to do a minor, that's how I play it. That shape. Okay. I'm rambling here. All right. Moving on, because now we have our second major minor chord, our second essential. I'll say instead of major, that's a loaded word. Our second essential minor shape here, which would be for our B minor. Sorry, I don't like the tone of that on my end. Hopefully, it sounds okay on yours. And we have our B and a D. So we have. Ah, it's so good. So our melody just went, but then our chord tones, our roots of the chord really turned that into something pretty. There we go. All right, and we have this little, this was kind of it's not really a written chord. It's like, I think in the song, they really just hold that B minor, but I added this A to add some movement to it because I'm thinking I have 2 measures of B minor before I get to G. So what I was ranting about earlier, those strong connecting notes, that goes for this too. So the A, is the letter that is in between G and B in the music alphabet, right? So that A adds some gravity to this G note, so it helps us lead to it. All right, so you have that nice little walk down. The other thing is that there's not a melody note on beat 1 of this measure, so I wanted to mark it in some way, and if I kept that B there, it's just not, it doesn't have direction to it. Right? I mean, that's fine, but the A note adds, we're drawing a line. Like we think about walking bass lines, right? A bass line. We're drawing a line from one chord to the other. That's how I think about it. We have these really nice melody notes here to our G chord. And now this is another case where the melody note G is the same as the root note of the chord G. So I wanted to beef that up a little bit. At a simpler level, it could be that. But that sounds a little bit transparent. I generally want more color out of it. So I added in the third, so that now you get this pretty chord where you can really feel, I don't know how to put it, you can feel the majorness of that G. And now here we get another variation of our major chords, where here we had this closed voicing across 4 strings. Now we have a 3-string voicing that is root, 3rd, octave. And that's nice. And that's about all I have to say about that. So moving on, we have our D chord here. Yeah, we love that. You could also, this is a strong candidate to be played with the open string. So a lot of times when I see this F sharp note in the melody over a D chord, I'm tempted to do it open. And you get a nice little touch, which is a grace note hammer on. These are the things that I think about all day. Grace note hammer-ons, people. What's a grace note hammer-on? Well, and I butchered it. So if I were to notate that, grace notes are essentially, they happen so fast that they don't really have a full rhythmic value, right? So it's like a superscript there. So it's not an eighth note, it's not a 16th note, it's a little bit smaller, and I'm not writing 30-second notes because then I would have to tie that to, it would just be a nightmare. So it's a grace note. And that can sound pretty nice. Let's do it from the top. Ooh, yeah. Tell me that's not nice. Okay, so I'm actually going to leave this, even though that's not what was originally on the on the PDF for the arrangement. But yeah, that's nice. We get that E, which is obviously in the key of D, and our F sharp. You get that with the open string, it hits. Now, it doesn't have to be with an open string, but then without the open string, it becomes a little bit trickier where we have to do something like. Now, spoiler alert, I do have a Bohemian Rhapsody arrangement on the way. I just posted the PDF on Patreon, shameless Patreon plug. And this shape actually comes up a lot. So you have it with an open string, but if you don't have the luxury of having an open D, you can still do that by kind of barring with that first finger. I guess you can do it like this. But then I tend to bend it off the neck, obviously. So I'm playing that 9th fret with my first finger. Oh, that sounds nice. Sorry. That works. So a lot generally, okay, where do I go? In my general playing, I don't play that many open strings. Obviously, an open E is like the coolest note. We love an open E, it rocks. But yeah, it's like the best note on bass. I remember first time I picked up a bass, I played that note and I was like, I'm hooked. That note rules. But if I'm not playing an open low E, I'm generally not playing open strings in my normal bass gigs, right? Playing with the bands, I avoid open strings because they jump out. They have more overtones. And I've got some comments in my video saying, "Oh, you play too many open strings." And I'm like, "I get it. That's fair." But also, I feel like in solo bass arrangements, you can get away with using open strings more just because we play a lot of notes. and it can actually be an advantage for the sound instead of taking away from it like a lot of times the open strings do. Hey, thank you very much, Beelzebub. Beelzebub. Oh, you're gonna like the Bohemian Rhapsody arrangement. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. Okay. Anyway. So really appreciate the love. Yeah, I'm trying out the new format. I'm glad you like it. I feel like I ramble too much, but there's just so much information and so much that goes into this stuff that I got a lot to talk about. Um okay, where were we? So we have this, let's just finish this measure, right? So we have G, or this line. We have G, D, and then we have this A. Now, I'm going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and add a grace note there. Wouldn't that be nice? Sorry, I'm away from the microphone. Okay, because this is where we get another really nice shape. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for the positive encouragement. So we have this G, and this D. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's about time that. Oh, and I didn't share the screen again, but it's okay because I was about to end this share screen anyway. Let's talk about the right hand, because through doing these solo bass arrangements, some weird things happen with my right hand, and I don't always think about it that much. I'm just like, I have to play the note, and I kind of find a way. But this chord specifically here, I ended up using my 3 fingers and doing this little bit of a roll, right? So, this comes from kind of, I love classical, like, nylon string guitar, kinda like flamenco style, and I think that's where I got the technique from. I'm sure there's a special name for it, but for a chord like this, what I would do is actually line up 3 fingers, first finger, second finger, third finger. Not something you'd usually do on a bass. Definitely more of a classical guitar, style. Bass little bub. Okay, great. Yeah, hey, that's thanks for the comment. Yeah, the goal is, these I kind of put up these celebration arrangements, and I'm like, "Hey, figure it out. Here you go. I did it. You can do it too." But I really love playing the bass in this way, and it's kind of like it feels like a new frontier in a way. Like there's definitely some really great players out there doing it, but with this channel, I want it to feel like if you are a quote unquote noob, I don't know if you're being humble or how much how much you've been playing, but I I want I want these arrangements to be more accessible because most of the creators and bassists that I see with YouTube channels that are doing stuff like this, it's very like virtuoso, they're like there's a lot of taps and harmonics, which I do from time to time too, but, I always go into the arrangements with a thought of playing it in a way that is kinda like the bare minimum, and not because I'm lazy, but just because I am a little bit lazy, but mostly because I want other people to be able to play the arrangement. And so, for everyone watching this, like, the any of the arrangements that you see of mine, like, I'd love to hear you kinda do your own thing with it, make adjustments to it. There's definitely a lot of room to add other stuff to it, but I wanna do, I guess you call it MVP, right? Minimum viable product, where we really just focus on playing the chord changes, playing the melody, and you can fill it in a lot of creative ways. Oh, hey, Ben's already on the Patreon trying the, Bohemian Rhapsody arrangement. Yeah, it's crazy. It's up there with Hotel California and Stairway with my most difficult arrangements. It's something that I worked on for a long time. It has some crazy stretches in it, but, yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody PDF is live on Patreon. Oh, yeah, yeah, and like I said, I want these arrangements to be accessible, so I have a hard time putting stuff behind a paywall because I don't want it to be prohibitive. I am also learning that I spend a lot of time doing this you know anyway, if you wanna sign up for Patreon, the $5 a month would be nice, but I don't wanna put stuff behind a paywall, it just feels kinda grimy to me. So, alright, let's keep moving. So we've got this nice little line here. Sorry, I kinda lost my spot. We'll take it from the top. We got these great shapes here, starting with an octave. I should be sharing the screen, but I'm not. That's okay. Okay, let's talk about that line. And I will share the screen here. I need to get quicker with the screen sharing. So we've got this guy here, should be kind of familiar. Now, if I were when I'm playing the root note on the A string, a lot of times I will use this shape. If I'm playing the if the for example, the melody note is the third, this is shape's great. But if I was doing a D chord, for example, that's a little bit too muddy for me. So that's when I would take it up an octave if I can, if I have the range. Much better. But for this G, we're kind of getting into the safe zone where this doesn't sound muddy to me. Muddy, muddy, muddy. Mm. Maybe, F is that breaking point where after F starts to sound fine. Did I just lose that screen share? Hey, fam, Ben and Beelzebub. Appreciate the love and encouragement. So, yeah, thanks, guys. It really means a lot. So thanks for tuning in. All right, and anybody else watching, I'd love to hear from you in the chat if you have any questions, or even if it's just a thumbs up. So, where was I going? Yeah, I feel like F is about the lowest point that I would use this shape. It doesn't sound as muddy there. So G's, yeah, there's a sweet spot. Now, I am sharing the screen. Okay. This would probably work fine. I'd actually probably be more inclined to use this. I don't even know why I did the open, but let's compare them. Yeah, that's a little bit like as a baseline, I usually wouldn't play what's written here with this G and then the open A to the B there. It sounds a little bit awkward. Let's see. Right? It takes away the fluidity. So I don't know why I made that choice in the original arrangement, but I'm gonna make an executive decision and go ahead and change that. I mean, sounds amazing. We love it. Now, this is where it gets a little crazy. All right. I feel like this is a chord that it's one of those you go on ultimateguitar.com and you look up the chords to a song, and there's almost always that like one chord where they're like, it's an E minor. And you're like, is it though? So yeah, it's a G6 is the best I could come up with for what this chord is. You could call it an E minor over G. It has the same notes as a G6, but in the song, I'm pretty sure the bass note is a G. Now, if I were teaching this to a like a like a new guitar student or ukulele, I might just say it's a G. Right? But I can't help falling in love. See, that's not quite a G major. I can't help falling in love. It's not an E minor either. I'm sorry. It's a G6. It's like it's kind of a G, it's kind of an E minor, but it's a G6. It's somewhere in between. So, a little bit getting towards kind of like an exotic chord, right? Um, but it's really because that vocal melody starts on that E note. So if I was playing just a G major and I didn't have that E, unless you're working with a really, talented singer, that's kind of a hard note to find if it's not being played in the chord, right? So, we end up with this really nice chord shape that we don't always see. Love that. The dean in the trunk of the car. All right. That is hilarious. I have a Dean acoustic bass that I got for like $120 on Craigslist in 2006. Craigslist was like a new thing. I met someone at a 7-Eleven and got this acoustic bass from him. And it's one of the best purchases I've ever made in my life. It's actually a huge part of why I do solo bass arrangements, because I used to just play that acoustic bass all day because my electric bass would be in a case and the acoustic bass would just be sitting there in a stand ready to be played. So, big love for Dean. Dean basses. Yeah, man, they're monsters. That thing, I think I have probably the same strings on it from, gosh, literally over 10 years, for sure over 10 years, because it has I was in a phase of getting the, like, glow like, the black light strings that are, like, green and yellow, and then I broke a string on the acoustic bass, and I put one of my old, like, spare strings. Anyway, big tangent, big tangent. But yeah, I have a Dean acoustic bass that I got 20 years ago that the strings are 10 years old, and that thing still kicks. And yeah, I did a lot of my early bass arrangements on that thing. Yeah. Yeah, it is huge, and it's really awkward to play because you don't have the pickup to rest your thumb on, so I felt like my right hand would cramp up, but I eventually got used to it. Okay, back to the song. We have this really great G6. Ah, I just love that. So, um, the 6th singing the 6th, like, as far as, like, notes that pop up in solo bass arrangements is actually really common. What we'll see a lot of is something like this, where, vocalists will it's essentially it's like the target note is kind of the 5th of the chord, but they'll sing the 6th to have that little bit of tension resolution, and who knows how I mean, I'm not a great singer or Lord knows, or a, vocal melody writer, but, for example, you see that a lot in "Killing Me Softly." Wait, that's the 4th to the 3rd, and then we have I swear I have eventually. So there that was the 6th to the 5th. There we are. So we have my whole life. That's the 6th going to the 5th. And that shape pops up a lot. I feel like it pops up in some of the Chili Peppers arrangements. It's just really it's really common to have beat 1, of a new chord, the vocal melody having the 6th. It's not very often that you go this kind of 7 octave or whatever this is. That but gosh, that works really nice. If you think about it, this note is really setting up that note. So we have this little F sharp, G, F sharp. So by the time that this note is sung, it's like our ears were prepped for it with this. And we have that nice little grace note hammer on thing again. And after all I said about this F sharp note being too muddy, I mean, it could be there, it could not be there. I think if that third isn't there, then the ending sounds a little bit too hollow. Let's see what this cadence feels like without the third. See, maybe that's an effect that I would want in some cases, but for me, when I just do the octave ending there, I feel like I lose all color. After this really nice 6th, you have the thirds being included. When it's not there, it feels too transparent. Let's do it again. I want you to just listen to it. Right? It's not quite as satisfying. Now, I'll put the third excuse me, I got the hiccups here. I'll put the third back in, and we have it's really filled out. So, this is a new shape. Well, I guess it's the same shape that we had here. So, um, in general, I didn't do it at the very beginning of the song, but in general, if I have an octave as the melody note, right? So if the melody is doing a G and my chord is a G, I'll throw in that third just for good measure, just for taste. Gives a nice sound. And I used to have it here in the D as well. Now it's not in the very beginning. And look, it's not here either. All right. Let's talk about the bridge of this song because I might even have a chord wrong. Do I? This might be, this might not. Anyway, I feel like last time I heard this song, I was like, have I been doing that chord wrong the whole time? So we'll see. This is awkward. This was a tricky part of the arrangement, right? So we go up to the 18th fret. Let's take a look at this. Oh, this went from a simple song to a hard song, just right there. All right. Because I hear the melody is like the river flows. How can we do that? I kind of like that better than what I wrote. That works though. I really heard it as. How would we do that? So if I were to do the way that I'm humming it now, this is why. These arrangements, like if you hear something different, go for it. Like I did this arrangement a couple years ago, and now I'm like, I hear it different. Let's change it up. That would actually be kind of nice. But they have that nice note, like the river flows. Whoa! What would that be? I like that better. That's what they do. I'm rambling into the void here, but yeah, I think we're live editing it. Let's see. I like that better. That's a better arrangement. Okay. Ben, let's look at this question. Do you look at each chord separately or take notice to alt scales, 2-5-1, dredge substitution? Yeah, it's all of it. Yes to all the above. So my general method for all these solo arrangements, I start with what's the chord progression. Figure out the chord progression and then overlay the vocal melody with that. Then I add to something I kind of mentioned earlier, which is kind of like the strums. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know exactly. So I don't know if throwing a tritone substitution and can't help falling in love with you. Maybe that's the move, right? But maybe it's not always appropriate. But as far as like 2-5-1s, this ending is about to be a whole string of 2-5-1s. So definitely as I'm going through, I think a lot in the what's it called, Roman numeral analysis, something like 251, 36251s, and all those. Um, sometimes it's so hard for me to get my thoughts organized for people with in teaching the lessons about them because, man, there's a lot of numbers because there's the fret numbers, there's the chord numbers, there's the scale numbers, there's the intervals. So, yes, I think about all of them. I usually don't, in my arrangements, insert anything that's not already there. Like, if, in the version that I'm transcribing, they didn't do a tritone sub, I usually wouldn't add it. In the ones that I post on YouTube, I mean, there I can't think of a case of when I threw something like did a reharm on something like that. But, in my general bass playing, yeah, big time, big time. Always thinking about that stuff. Yeah, they missed the trick. They should have put a tritone sub. What and Basil Bub, hey, I got BB, Ben and Baselzebub coming through on the comments here. It's like you get your own private stream. All right, so what am I doing here? I kind of am rewriting this arrangement as we go. That's not what I came to do. I like that better though. I should have done that in the original video. Okay, so what do we have written there? So yeah, this is. I mean, I'm talking about interesting harmonies for what I said in the beginning about this being kind of like a basic song, starting the vocal melody on the root, which isn't you know not to play it down, but that's just very it's kind of like there's a little bit of simplicity to it. But then we get to the bridge. There's always the bridge, and the bridge gets a little bit of stuff showing off. So here, the first note again is the root, technically, right, of the chord. That root third. But then look at this. What do we have here, Ben? Say it with me. Secondary dominant. Yes, we love it. And what I really like about this chord here, the C sharp 7, is that a lot of times when you see secondary dominance, it's the 5 of 6, and this being the 5 of 3. That's nice. I like that because then you're turning the 7th, right? The like the C sharp, turning that into a dominant chord. That's nice. That is nice. We like that. Yeah. Yeah, man. So what am I even talking about anymore? All right. So that's how I would do it now. Now, even just doing this right here, right, with the root and the 7th, that's something. Maybe that's why I didn't do this initially in the way I wrote it. It's because you don't have the 3rd there, so that you don't really feel the secondary dominantness of that. Like I want to hear that 3rd, but then getting to that shape isn't it totally. I don't want to say like practical. It's not true. I mean, you could do that. Actually, that's kind of nice. That's nice. This song is really beautiful. Okay. Let's keep moving. So it repeats that 3 times. I'm going to do that because if I really love this program, by the way. I'm using Guitar Pro. Is it 8 now? It was 7 for a long time. Guitar Pro 8. Yeah, it is 8. But one thing I don't like is that if I was like, "Hey, I like this. I just want to do this 3 times," and I copied and pasted it. I'll just show you for example. It I lose the chord name. And adding the chord names takes more time than I would like in this program. I wish you could just copy and paste the chords. I should reach out to them about a sponsorship or something. Actually, I did send them an email, see if they were hiring. They said they were a small team. uh, all right. Maybe this one it should be. Hold on. So we have. I kind of like it better with just the 7th and the root. And then we have something. What do we have? What did I mess up there? So this is the chord where I'm not sure if that's what's actually being played. I almost want to say it's an F sharp, like it's another secondary dominant of B7. It sounds crazy though with just that note. All right, we're gonna look it up. We're doing it. We're contacting. We're consulting. Is this gonna get me demonetized? Maybe it will. Okay, let's check the official. Give me them chords. Some things. Oh, it's F sharp minor. E minor. Some things. Yeah, totally E minor. I'm meant to be. Okay. Well, I don't know why I felt like that wasn't one of my chords was wrong. I think maybe I saw someone else do it. Ben, what's wrong with the sound? Am I talking away from the microphone? Do I care about sound? I always care about sound. So yeah. We have some things are meant to be. And then we have, look at that. We have another one of those things I was talking about where we have the 6th of the chord being the first note sung for the melody. Sounds pretty nice. So we got this is the same F sharp minor chord shape that we had earlier. By the way, this C sharp 7 shape. I never really talked about that yet, but that's nice. Love that shape, especially high up on the neck. That's another one where I'm a little bit wary about where I do it. Probably around A would be the lowest that I would do that without it sounding like too muddy. Oh, that's what it was. I thought in my original arrangement I had this as a minor, but that is dominant. There we go. So I was just tripping. I think when I originally arranged this song, I thought that was a B minor again, but it is a B7. We have that same one of my favorite minor shapes. Probably my favorite. If I had to pick a favorite. Actually, you know what? My favorite minor chord shape is it's Flea's favorite. Anytime I see an A minor and I can do that shape, I'm like, let's go. Oh, is the bass was clipping? Has my bass been clipping this entire time? Maybe I was just playing a little bit too hard. Um, all right, and then the last thing I wanna talk about is this A7. Alright, this is a great song. Alright, so, let's go ahead and just about wrap this up. I'll do a quick playthrough just to round it. Um, what if maybe I'll play along with the arrangement. I have, let me throw this in real quick. Bing, bong, boom. Yeah, there we go. And let's go ahead. If I have a click, will it drive you crazy? Let's see. Whoa, that's way too fast. Well, I'll just play it through at my own speed. All right. Oka Soda in the house. Let me have our little section. So I got some little hesitations here. Hey, lighters up. So not I definitely would have done another take if that wasn't live. Had some hesitations on it. A little distracted by the chat. Okasoda. I hope I'm saying the name right in the chat. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Trying to kind of demystify the solo bass arrangement. This was super fun. What was it? An hour? An hour 15? So I'm probably gonna wrap this up, get something to eat. But really thanks so much everybody for tuning in. Let me know if this is something that you think I should do more of. I think, I'll I'll see what I'll watch it back. Um, I really love all the questions as we go to kinda check things out, and any questions you guys have, like, let me know because there's so much to talk about, right hand, left hand, tone, bass, notes, requests, everything. But, yeah, thank you so much everybody that tuned in and anyone that's watching this later. Like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon for free PDFs, and stay tuned for Bohemian Rhapsody video is coming out hopefully in the next few days. The PDF is already live on Patreon. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.